Hi, I'm Julia Green. I'm one of 3 senior preachers for today. And for those of you who do or don't know me, swimming has always been a very big part of my life. Thrown in the water at 3 months old, I quickly developed a set of gills. So it surprised no one that August of 2012, I tried out for New Trier's varsity swim team and made it as a freshman. I was ecstatic. I became a little less so once school started, and I found out the pleasures of being in all high honors classes and a varsity sport that trains 4 hours a day, 2 before school and 2 after. But regardless, I was on the team and partaking in traditions such as freshman initiation, the car wash, where only the upperclassmen got the honor of using the hose, and carrying rings to and from dryland at practice. The 3 freshmen on varsity rotated carrying this 30-plus pound bag every day. We knew what an honor it was to be on varsity, and the bag wasn't that bad when 2 of you carried it. A hierarchy that I'd never heard of prior to August became my life. So when senior captains ignored me and started making comments about me, I assumed I was simply paying my dues. I've always wanted to belong to a community where you are looked after and loved unconditionally. I had never learned the definition of seniority, where respect is expected instead of earned, before this summer. As one of 3 freshmen, there were plenty of opportunities for seniority to rear its ugly head. But at least I trusted my coach. At least I felt safe around him. It was his first year on the varsity team as well. He was also earning the respect of the upperclassmen, who ignored his existence as much as they did mine. So even though he ignored my isolation, I chalked it up to his inexperience. For a girl who wanted nothing more than to belong, the unwanted feeling radiating from these girls I was supposed to automatically respect and worship, as the hierarchy dictated, only made me value the safety I felt around my coach and with my friends. This unbalance in my life perpetuated well into sophomore year, as I swam with my high school swim team year-round. The only things that changed sophomore year was my best friend, who already went to boarding school, moved to North Carolina. I put a lot of stock in face-to-face communication, so I had few tools with which to communicate with my best friend. Around this same time, my friend since elementary school decided it was a good time to take a break from my friendship. As you can probably imagine, I was devastated. I have been incredibly lucky in my life. I have a loving, supportive family. I have my own bed. I eat 3, sometimes 4, nutritious meals a day. Sadly, because of my good fortune, I had no knowledge of how to deal with my problems. So I became tired and stayed tired to the bone for at least 4 long months. And then I started to get angry. Angry at the girls on my swim team who had never accepted me or even made me feel like I was worth something when all I had wanted was to belong. Infuriated at my old friends who for no conceivable reason dropped me, and let down by my inexperienced coach who still had taken no action to help me. My anger consumed me for the 3 months of the summer of 2014. And then high school swimming started up again, and I was determined for this season to be a good one. I was a junior and in a powerful position to make sure that no one else on my team felt what I had felt for the first 2 years of high school, alone. I resolved myself to always consider that I don't know everything about everyone's life, and to give others a second chance, and then a third. But most importantly, I started going to youth group. I have been an avid churchgoer all my life. Swimming makes it hard to go to all the 9 a.m. Sunday services, but I go to as many as I can. I had never participated in youth group before this. At first, I was nervous to go because I didn't know this new leader, Charlotte, and didn't fully know what happened at youth group. Then I didn't go because I was genuinely terrified of one of the fellow members. But junior year, my mom suggested I go for 2 hours one Sunday, and I went. She never had to ask me to go again. I was hooked. The community I felt at youth group was unparalleled to anything I had felt since before high school. See, even though I resolved myself for it to be better, the constant pressure of knowing that if I did not create an inclusive team environment, it would not exist, weighed on my shoulders throughout the entire season. At youth group, There was no pressure to be anyone but who I was. No one who was constantly working against me, trying to keep seniority, and most importantly, there was competent leadership. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel tired or angry, and after a little while, I felt happy that there was a place I could and I did belong. I never appreciated this feeling of community more than I did this past fall when the incompetent and ignorant head coach of swimming generated an extremely ill-defined and vague idea, which created a multitude of problems with the leadership team of the team. Sadly, because I had fought so desperately to get rid of the hierarchy, I had not made many senior friends who felt that they had earned the right to be seniors. The coach did not help me when I suffered the consequences of his poor choices, even though he knew the ostracism I had been through for my first 2 years on varsity. He knew how much I wanted a community. Most of all, he knew how much I cared for the team, how much I wanted the entire team to be like a family, much like the family I had seen function my freshman year. Except this time, no one would be left out in the cold. But he let me down. He shattered the community I had built for myself in my team by taking the thing that helped me be who I am the most, my confidence in myself and in my abilities. You could say that I was drowning this past fall, suffering negative physical reactions and waves of such strong hate multiple times a day. But when I went to youth group, I didn't have to worry about any of it. A weight was lifted off my shoulders and I was free. For 2 hours every week, I wasn't worried. I was home. Here, I didn't need to worry about pretenses or any of that annoying nonsense. Here, the people didn't ask for more than I could give, but I knew that when I needed them, they would be there. I have spent my last 4 years of my high school career trying to build a community where I could belong, where I would be unconditionally loved, when it has been here all the time.
Hi, my name is Ginny Wise, and I've been attending Holy Comforter pretty much since I was born. I'm a regular churchgoer. I attend Sunday school and youth group almost every week. I'm present at Holy Comforter events, and I join the rest of the high schoolers on the yearly mission trip, which you can hear about at the adult forum later. I know what it's like to talk about and be a part of a religion, a church, but the one part I still have trouble with is understanding God. I listen to sermons and I say prayers before meals, but to be completely honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. I know I'm not supposed to see God as a genie granting my wishes, and it's hard for me not to see him as the big man in the sky. I'm sure I'm not the only person that doesn't really know what they're doing when they pray. I don't know how exactly to grasp the idea of God yet, so for now, I choose to see my religion as the presence of love. My favorite part of church is, and always has been, the community behind it. I love that every time I come to church, I get to see the same familiar faces I've known my entire life. I get to experience what it's like being part of something bigger than just me. That's what matters to me more than anything else. I don't come to church every Sunday for the psalms and the prayers. I don't sit in my pew and think, yes, the Nicene Creed. I've been waiting for this moment all week. I come to church because it's where I feel comfortable, where I grew up. I know this place and the people in it, like the back of my hand. You could blindfold me and place me in any room in the church, and I would know where I was just based on the smell. This church is such a big part of me that I'm always taken a bit aback when someone says they don't go to church on Sundays, just because that's all I've ever known. Now, to be quite honest, I'm not really a people person. I can be very introverted, and sometimes I just like to be by myself. It's who I am, and I can't change that. Unfortunately, though, it means that sometimes I withdraw myself from people. I push them away without really realizing it. I spent a lot of my middle school and high school in solitude because I was afraid to reach out and open myself up to others. I wound up pretty lost. It's the church that helped me learn the beauty of relationships, of having an unending connection with someone. That's the God in my life, not the genie in the bottle or the big man in the sky. God, for me, is in the eyes of the greeters as they pass me a program, It's in the smiles that I meet during the peace. It's in the hands that pass me the bread and wine during communion. That's the best way I understand God. Next year, I'm going to be away at college at University of Wisconsin, and it will probably be difficult being away from the church for so long. Whatever I do during my life, whatever adventures I take, I know I can always come back to Holy Comforter. I can always come back home.
Hi everyone, if you don't know me, my name's Amanda David, and I'm a senior at New Trier High School, and I'm going to Northwestern University next year. You might recognize me more as being related to Beth Kemp, my best friend and my grandma. She seems to be a celebrity around here. I've grown up at Holy Comforter. I was confirmed here. I've gone on all the mission trips. I've been on youth group involved with that, the soup kitchen and all that. And so faith has been a very important part of my life growing up, especially relevant in the decisions I make. Something about me is I've never been a big party person. When my friends started getting into that and going out a lot the last couple of years, I would just go with them because what else was I going to do on a Friday night when all my friends were doing that? Whether you're 84 like my grandma or 17, my age, or just about any age in between, I'm sure the high school social scene hasn't changed that much. And so I'm not surprising anyone by saying it's completely centered around alcohol. It's not that I'm not social. I have plenty of friends, I promise. It's just that I don't really enjoy myself at parties. My idea of a good time is not having 45 teenagers, most of them people you don't know and people you don't really like, standing in a small basement, really condensed and drinking. However, even though I'm saying that, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I went with my friends the last couple years because I felt obligated to go, because you're lame if you never go out, and because I felt like I had nothing else to do on the weekends. A lot of Friday and Saturday nights of mine would turn out the same way. I would be having a great time with my friends, hanging out at one of our houses. We'd go out to dinner. Still, I'm having a great time. Then it'd hit around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then they would start looking for a party to go to. From there, we'd go. I'd stand around, talk to some kids in a random basement for about 2 hours, and people would come up to me and say, "Why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you having fun?" I would normally make up some lie reason and say, "Oh, I have a game the next day. My parents are really strict. I have church." But then I'd come home every night, most nights late, feeling bad and not feeling like I had a fun night at all. Right here is where I see an example of a lack of faith and belief in myself. I see God in other people's support for me, but even more strongly, I see God in having self-support for myself and believing in myself. Although I've come to realize that it's a lot harder to see God as an internal influence. I've grown up with the mentality that God is this confusing external power, that oftentimes people say that they see God in people, in nature, in events, and other external places, yet it's so easy to skip over yourself. As I'm sure most of you remember, prom's a big deal for any high schooler, especially a high school senior, because it's your last high school dance ever, your last time with your friends, dressing up and all that. So yeah, it's a big deal. My senior prom was last Saturday. I met up with my friends beforehand to take pictures together so we could get pictures of all of us. Then I went to my prom group's pictures, got on our party bus to go downtown, and we stayed at the dance for a while. Then I had so much fun of all of that, and then it came to the after party. When I got there, it was 45 kids crammed in a basement with a lot of alcohol. My forte. And immediately I realized I wasn't going to have a good time. It's not that I'm bashing on high school parties, because some people love them and have a lot of fun, and that's great for them. But it's that they aren't my scene. That night, I realized something I hadn't before. It's perfectly okay I don't like them. I'd had so much fun the rest of the night. Why ruin it at the after party? Why should I stay here if I'm not enjoying myself? I wanted to remember my last high school dance being really fun, so why ruin that memory by staying at my after party? So I texted my parents to pick me up, and I got home at 11:30 the night of prom. Parents out there, I'm sure you'd agree that that sets an unbeatable record for a high schooler. But that's okay. Did people say stuff about how I was lame for going home, or did people question it and say I should just stay? Yes, of course, but I could care less in the moment because I had a great time at prom and felt so good about myself for my decision. This is where I see God in my life. I see God here by giving me the confidence to do things like this, to make decisions that make me happier. Although this may sound strange to think about God in such an egocentric way, all about you, it's very important because it is something we do not do enough, think about ourselves. I like to think it's like how people focus on others and others' health a lot more than their health. faith is very similar to this. I think a lot of times people focus on others, how they can pray for others, how to have faith for others, how to do things to make other people around you happy. But a lot of times people skip about thinking about themselves and their internal faith and happiness. Sometimes it's okay to focus on yourself, your happiness, and your faith. It's not self-centered at all, in my opinion. God is within us all, every single one of you out here listening, well, hopefully listening to me right now. And that's what gives us all faith, faith to believe in ourselves and then faith to believe in others. Sometimes you need to dig a little in order to see that, and that's okay. An idea for thought that I have is that pick one time during a day or during a week, whenever you want, whatever works best for you, but pick a time that you can designate to thinking about yourself and what you can do to enhance your internal faith. I told myself I wasn't going to talk about the mission trip, but that's very hard not to do, so I'm going to break that rule. After every mission trip, everyone from our ASP group would stand in a circle and we would pass around yarn. Everyone would get string and we would cut it out and then we put a washer on it. It's supposed to be a symbol of the trip and faith, and you keep it on as long as you can so you remember it. I'm a big runner, and it started because I'm on Nitro soccer and field hockey team, so I always need to be in shape, but it turns out, however, I've come to love running. Every single morning on the mission trip, I would wake up at 5:30 and go on a run, and I would drag Heath with me every morning, which I don't know how she felt about that, but so when I got the yarn, Heath said to me, "You should put it on your ankle." Running is a time I think to myself and a time that I designate to thinking about myself and my faith, so that made sense for me. Through this time, sometimes I feel God there and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. This still enhances my faith. By believing in yourself and having faith in yourself, it allows you to more easily have faith in others. I really think that. Growing up in Holy Comforter, I have been guided to pay attention to my faith, and through that, I am so appreciative for who I am today and so happy about who I am because of the decisions I have made and the people I've met, including Ginny and Julia, two girls who I probably would not have met at New Trier because of how big it is and because of how different the three of us all are. But because of Holy Comforter, all of us will be, because of Holy Comforter, these are two girls that I'm going to be able to call my lifelong friends.